Hey guys, I thought I would do a video on how I make dehydrated beef for my backpacking meals. And for this part of the video and stuff, you don't need a whole lot of materials to actually make this. You need your beef. My first video didn't turn out, so I'm having to redo this section of the video. But I have a pound of beef here, and I have some breadcrumbs, just plain breadcrumbs that I'm going to add into the beef. And I will add per pound a half of cup of breadcrumbs to my mixture. So I have about half a cup of breadcrumbs, and what I will do is let me get the beef torn apart. I will add my breadcrumbs into it and mix it together. The breadcrumbs actually help the beef to actually rehydrate better. So now when you add these breadcrumbs, it will actually shorten the actual life of the beef, because no matter how much you dry it out, the breadcrumbs are going to retain a little bit of moisture in your beef. So the shelf life of this beef will not be as long as just dehydrating down normal beef, which is fine with me because I freeze it and then I use it whenever I need it. So basically the only time it's not in the freezer is maybe a day or two, and that's completely fine. And then once you get all this done, you just cook your beef as normal, and when it's done, I'll show you the next step of how to actually wash off the fat from the beef. When you're making dehydrated beef, you do not want to have any fat in your beef. So when you're buying your hamburger meat, you want to try and get the leanest type of beef you can get, which would be about 93%. It's what I find in the stores. The higher fat count that you find in the store. So if you get something that's like 80-20, it's going to have too much fat, and you're going to be sitting there rinsing your beef constantly in hot water to get all the fat. And I will actually show that later in the video of me rinsing the beef once I've cooked all this. So I will bring you back when I'm ready to actually rinse this beef after I've cooked it. Okay guys, I'm getting my hot water going, and I'm about to load up my strainer with hamburger meat. What you want to do is you want to wash it, and this stuff is hot, so you have to kind of wash it. When you get to a hostel or a viewpoint or something like shelter, be prepared to do next to the shelter that you full of when you can't next to people. The way I dealt with that is I just found to. And if you ever want to know if your hamburger meat has no oil on it, I should be able to snap my fingers once I've messed with it. So it's almost there. It was just a terrible experience for me. People don't intend to use, but they're reaching it there in a bag of granola at 3 in the morning because there's food already. It's very frustrating. See? Okay, that part's done. Another question, how many miles a day did you go? And you just continue to do this until you're done with all your hamburger meat. Okay, I finally got all the hamburger meat washed, and I have all the oils off of it, and I could just tell by snapping my fingers that there's no oil on the meat itself. This helps a lot more when you use the very lean meat with very little fat. You don't have to wash it as long as you would the high fat content beef. Um, and then I have my little dehydrator. It's just an open country. Doesn't have to be a fancy one, as long as it's got it's dehydrator that you can set your individual temperatures for meats, all the way to fruits and vegetables, and even herbs and spices. So this comes in handy. I dry all my meat at 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, I have everything loaded up into the dehydrator trays. I use the fruit roll-up trays. I don't use any type of wax paper within my trays. I've never had any issues with it sticking or anything like that. And then once I have everything together, make sure it's all stacked up. Put the top on, and I plug it in. And then I have it set to 160, and I will let this run for about 4 hours, and I will come back and check it. Okay, after dehydrating down the 2 pounds of hamburger meat, the initial weight with the breadcrumbs plus the hamburger meat comes in about 8 ounces. I didn't subtract the weight of the actual bag on this, but it comes down to about 8 ounces. And as you can see, this is what mine looks like. It's super small. Let's see if I can get it there. Super small bits of hamburger meat. You don't want it too big, because the bigger you make it, the harder it's going to be to actually rehydrate. And I'll put this, boil water, and then I will actually rehydrate it for 20 minutes until I feel like it's actually rehydrated. Now, I've never had any issues rehydrating the actual beef, and it tastes like beef. And I add a little bit of olive oil to enhance the flavor and give it a little bit of a fattiness flavor back into the meat with all my backpacking meals. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post below, and subscribe if you want. Thank you.